What is a soul contract? What actually is a soulmate? And is twin flames even really a thing? I want to talk about those today in this session because I believe that if you have a deeper understanding on a concept, you're able to navigate it with more ease. And when it comes to this concept and relationships, that's priceless. And if you're new, we're right in the middle of a series. I don't want you to miss a thing. So go ahead and hit subscribe and the notification button. This is 1 out of 12 series that I'm doing. And each of these is going to talk about different techniques that you can apply to your intuition, getting more information and more understanding around intuition, spirituality, and connection. Now, you've either heard these terms, or you understand these terms, or you use these terms. But I want to dive deeper into them today because I want to talk about them on a deeper level in order for you to be able to come out of this session determining, are you with a soulmate? Are you not with a soulmate? How best to actually attract a soulmate if you're looking for your soulmate? What you really truly understand about twin flames, and the bigger picture, soul contracts. Are you in a soul contract? Is it time to break that soul contract? Now, I do teach a course on breaking soul contracts. It is for all of you who have the Sage Method. I know it's a really popular course, the 12 specialized bundle. If you have the Sage Method, or you might have bought the bundle on its own, it's a very popular course bundle. 12 courses in there, 3 hours each. One of the courses in there is called Breaking Soul Contracts. So if after this session, you're like, you know what, I do want to understand and learn how to energetically go forward in ending a soul contract, breaking a soul contract, letting go of one so I can move forward in my life. After evaluating and diving deep for yourself, if that course fits, you're going to find it in the 12 specialized course bundle. So check your Sage Method account. It's popular, like I said, so you might already have it. If you don't, I'll put a link in here for it so you can access the Breaking Soul Contracts course. But today, I want to get a deeper understanding. I want you to leave this session going, okay, I get it. I get it. And is this playing a good role? What role is this playing in my life? And do I want this in my life? Am I benefiting from it? Like all of those. I want you to have the tools from this session to be able to answer those questions for yourself. So let's jump in. When it comes to, I'm going to talk about the 3 terms, right? Soul contracts, soul mates, and twin flames. I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid of twin flames right away. If you've been following me at all, you know I'm not a fan. And I'm just going to say it. I'm not a fan. My opinion, just from what I've experienced, I have talked to so many people who have been caught up in the concept of twin flames, and they stepped into it in a positive manner. They stepped into it trying to put words and labels onto an experience that they're having with another person, but it has ended up doing them some harm. So let me just take 5 minutes or less than that, just a minute, to talk about twin flames, just long enough to tell you I don't believe in them, and let's shift into a different way of thinking around soulmates. Twin flames is a concept. I mean, it was brought up in the 70s. It was created by a living woman. You know, this wasn't even like delivered by any sort of higher being or anything. It was a woman had coined the term in order to, I believe, because I always believe the best of people, but I believe she coined the term to describe a particular relationship that is incredibly deep. Right? And so here you are, for anyone that has used the word twin flames or think they might have a twin flame, you're in a soulmate relationship. You are, but it is so intense that you feel like there needs to be like a better word for it. You feel like there needs to be a stronger term. There's got to be more to this than just soulmate, right? And that's where twin flame comes in. Where it becomes harmful is that individuals will use this concept of twin flame as an excuse and as an abuse tool to maintain a bad relationship. The concept of twin flame is that your soul came down here to earth, your soul was split in half and put into 2 different bodies. You're in one, half of you is in your body, and the other half of you is in this other person that you identify as your twin flame. And by the two of you coming together, please play the beautiful music in the background for this theory, but if two of you coming together makes you whole again. So the concept of twin flame says you're not whole. It says you're broken. It says you're not complete without this other person. And many, many, many times I have seen that lead to breakups or abuse. And the person believing in the twin flame concept, living the rest of their life feeling broken, not whole, and thinking that because they're not with this other person, it's only half of them. So as you can see how I'm describing this, maybe you can understand why I don't like the concept of twin flames. It is used as an abuse tool, not by all, okay, but by many. And it is an all or nothing, you're not whole without me. And so whatever I do, I can do because I'm your twin flame. So that's what I've seen. And now before you come at me, I have taught thousands and thousands and thousands of people all across the globe. I have been on the receiving end of desperate emails to an extreme, right? Where we need to get someone help because the desperation is so deep. Why? Because their quote twin flame has abused them, treated them horribly, and then told them they are nothing without them because they are twin flames. Okay. So I am talking about the worst case scenario. I'm sure there's a couple out there that thinks, that thinks twin flames is a great tool, a great way to discuss, their relationship, and it works, and that's great. But the concept of twin flames being that you are not complete and you are not whole without this other living person who can then do whatever because you have to be with them because they're your twin flame, that is very dangerous. Very dangerous. And I don't believe in it. I do respect the desire to put a special term on a soulmate connection that is so incredibly intense. And that's where I'm going to jump off to talking about soulmates now. Soulmates and soul contracts, those kind of go together. So I do believe in soulmates. The best way that I can describe it to my students that I've usually have used this analogy over the years is that on the other side, there is almost like a multidimensional webbing, right? And every intersection of that web is a higher self, is a soul. And the individuals, the other souls that are closest to you on that web, those are your soulmates. Those are the souls that are going to reincarnate in multiple lives with you. And sometimes it'll be your dad or your brother or your friend, or sometimes it'll be your husband or your wife or your partner in all of these different lives. And so soulmates are those that are closest to you on the, analogy of the big web in the sky, not even in the sky, but on the other side, your soul connections, the ones that are closest to you. Now, is there actually a web over there? No, that's not it. There isn't form. So I'm only using analogy in form to be able to explain kind of the concept. Here's another way to think about it. If one of your soulmates, which is closest to you on this, analogy that is the web, like a multidimensional spider web, if something happens to them and they shake the web, the people closest to them on that web are going to feel the shake, right? Think in terms of mother's instincts, soulmate connections. If something happens to your soulmate, even if you're not with them, you kind of feel something and something might happen. That's because you're so close to each other on the other side. So soulmates are real. Absolutely. Soulmates come into your life in a bunch of different forms. So this is where I want to kick one of the pop culture terms right out the window. Soulmates do not have to be romantic. They do not have to be lovers. They can be friends. They can be coworkers. They can be, coworkers a stretch. I get it. But they can be a family member. They don't have to be a romantic connection for you in order to be a soulmate. Here is the base description, the core description of what a soulmate is. A soulmate is someone that challenges you so deeply in both positive and negative ways that after being with that soulmate, you fundamentally change to become more of you. you become, through good times and bad with that soulmate, you become more of the authentic version of yourself. And I don't mean like tough times and say like a marriage where there's like emotional abuse or something, and then you become, your self-esteem lowers and you become, scared and timid and you struggle more emotionally. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the soulmate brought that to the table. It happened, but when you overcome that and you rise up above that, you are more of who you are because of it. Many of us, and it's a difficult topic when you're in something difficult. I was married for 20 years, got divorced. It's very difficult. And if you would have talked to me about this the week after the divorce, I'd be like, great, Dad, that's wonderful. Have a nice day. Can we talk about this some other time? But fast forward past the healing. You look back at those difficult times, difficult childhoods, or difficult relationships with soulmate parents, or soulmate siblings, or soulmate lovers, or spouses. And you think, when you have that moment where you think, wow, I'm a better person today because of that. Was it fun? No. Did it stink? Yes. Was it horrible? Absolutely. Do I honor that? Yes. But I like who I am today because of some of the things that came of that, some of the growth that I experienced out of it. That's a soulmate. That's a soulmate. Soulmate is not Hallmark. Soulmate is not right? A soulmate is somebody that challenges you positively and or negatively in such an extreme way that you become a better version of yourself. You blossom, you bloom, you step into your personal power, you become more connected with your soul, your own soul. That's what a soulmate is. Now, soul contracts comes in because soulmates are not for life. Here's another thing I got to kind of poo-poo with the pop culture. Soulmates are not for life. Some are, and stunningly beautiful. Right? And it's so meaningful. When I was doing readings years ago, I would meet a woman or a man and their spouse. They had been together for 60 some years. The power of the energy of that love, I can't even put words to. It's remarkable. Good times and bad times. They all say the same thing, good times and bad times. But most soulmates will come into your life and will also leave your life and will not be there permanently. While this can be devastating, while this can cause insecurities in some cases, in a small case, small percentage of cases, you're like, good riddance, bye-bye. But most of the time, it's a very difficult thing to end a soul contract. It's very emotional. It's very emotional. Why? Because you're so close to each other. You've had so many lifetimes together. Is it going to benefit you to keep this soul contract? If the answer is no, you need to move on. You need to move on. Is that easy to do? Absolutely not. Most of the time, it's not easy to do. And this is what we struggle with. But when we start to understand that before we ever came down here, you and your soulmate said, okay, we're going to come together in this lifetime and we're going to be together for X amount of years. And as a result of it, here are the benefits that you're going to eventually gain. On the other side, we can have that negotiation and say, okay, yeah, we're going to be together for like 6 years. That's okay. Yeah. All right. And then we'll separate. We'll go our own ways. And then maybe I'll run into another one of my soulmates. And I'm not even talking multiple marriages or anything. I'm just talking about like a friendship for me, I can tell you that my mom was a soulmate. I have a friend that was a soulmate. Right? But a little tiny window of a soulmate. I have a current friend that's a soulmate. I really hope that we're soulmates for life because she's pretty awesome. But there's a wide variety of them. And on the other side, it's one thing to say, okay, well, when we have this life together, this is how long we're going to be together. And then we're going to go our separate ways and we're going to have these other experiences. But when you're in it, there's a lot of emotions around that. And it can be very difficult. And it's actually the separating of that soul contract that can bring a lot of healing, and it can bring a lot of energetic growth and strength and get you more in touch with your spiritual self and your higher self. But it can be difficult. Now, when it comes to knowing, is this a soul contract that's expired? Is this a soul contract that I should still be in? Is this a soul contract that is no longer providing me any benefits as far as my soul growth? You're going to need to sit down and really take an objective point of view. Perhaps you sit down and you say, okay, well, If I knew all of this was happening to a friend, what would I advise that friend? Would I advise them to stay? Would I advise them that there's still more to be done? Or would I advise them to get out? If you can find a way to look at the situation from a bigger perspective, from an observational point of view, and maybe pull yourself emotionally out of it just temporarily in your thought process to try to evaluate the health of this soul contract. Did it end? Is it done and you're holding on? Very normal, very natural to do. We don't really kind of come into this world going, hey, I love ending relationships. Very natural. But is it time? Is there something in your soul that you know that, but it's difficult to do? If it is time to break that soul contract, dive in deeper to what the energetics are between you and that person. And like I mentioned with the course before, so I do teach a Breaking Soul Contracts course, which does go into how the energetics are between soul contracts, and it's a 3-hour course, so it's a lot more it's a lot more in depth. And if you're ready for that, it's time to really sit down and look at that and say, how are we energetically connected? What does this mean that it's done, and how to proceed in some cases safely too. Do you reach out and get some help? Do you do this completely energetically? Is there some living situations that you have to deal with? All of these things need to be handled in a way that balances you safely and helps you to navigate to the next stage in your life, which is beyond the soul contract that has ended. The big thing would be to understand that the concept of unity between two people, and that you are not a whole soul without another, I'm going to be very direct, it's a weak concept. And it's one that we can get invited into. We've all felt that way at some point, but it's not our strongest self. And what you want is to be your strongest self. That's what everyone wants, is to be in their best place and their strongest self. So to be strong is to acknowledge you are completely your own soul. You are not broken. There's nothing broken about you. There are multiple soulmates that are going to come into your life, come and go. Some are going to be extremely intense. And it's okay to honor the intensity of that. When it's done, it's done. Intense does not mean lifelong. Let's break that bond of the equation of intense means permanent. That's not the case. Soul contracts are there to help you grow, to help you thrive, to help you get more connected with your soul. So if you can find some time to sit down, if you're evaluating a soul contract that you're in right now, some of the benefits to this is to be able to get a bigger perspective. And some of the beneficial questions to ask yourself are, have I learned what I need to learn from this? Like, have I gained what I need to gain from this? What do I know about myself now? Where am I headed and where do I want to go? And is this going to hinder me or is this going to help me? These are some of the questions you need to objectively ask yourself. You can do it by yourself. You don't have to talk to anybody else. If you have a good friend you can trust, yes, please. But it's not even something you have to sit down with your soulmate. You can just have this conversation on your own. Do some self-evaluation. Go deep. Give yourself the gift of time to think through where you are, what you want, where you're going. Does that soul contract line up with that? If it does, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You might even come out of that little mini session with yourself going, hey, what would even improve this even more is this, this, and this. And then you can go to your soulmate and be like, this is exciting. Let's try this on. Let's do this. Let's do that. Or you're going to come out of it and go, you know what? I think this soul contract should end, or it has ended and I need to let it go. And from there, you can start making your plan to do that in the most healthy and safe way for you. So soul contracts absolutely exist. They're not that big of a deal on the other side, but once we come down here and we have all this linear timeline human emotion, they become difficult. You're not alone. Self-evaluation is very helpful. Soulmates, absolutely. Some soulmates are absolutely strong and very intense. Remember, they are there to push you in a positive way and push you in a negative way so you can grow into more of a soul connection to yourself and your higher self. Twin flames, please just understand you're not broken. You are not worthless without this other person. You are completely whole. You don't need another person to define you or fix you or heal you or make you whole. That knowledge is the power that you need to make sure that the soul connections that you do have are beneficial and healthy for you moving forward. Take some time to sit down, do some self-talk, do some evaluation, do some inner work. What comes of it is going to be faster and greater success in finding your joy. Thank you for joining me in this session. I really, really want to honor your process with soulmates and soul contracts and soul connections, and say good for you for going in deep. Here's some more videos that can help you with your intuition. Keep on going. You got this.